delay. I think I'll start getting the class ready or the meeting ready. I feel like the class teacher. How many folks we got online? Okay, we have Ray, Ted, Larry, WM, and Gary is almost on. Was on. Okay. Hey, folks, we're going to start up. I'll let Rockwell get something to drink out of the machine here. How's everybody doing this evening? Our apologies for the technical difficulties. Yeah. Too much QRM, right? Okay, I'm following Larry's rule. Rule number one: I have my phone ringer turned off. I left the missus at home, so it should be pretty quiet. I'm going to introduce myself. I did not stay at the Holiday Inn, so I can't be Larry today, but I'll do my best. I'm going to introduce myself. My call sign is W1 Alpha Echo Zulu. My name is Edwin, but I go by Easy, so you'll hear me on the airwaves, especially if you do Aries. Hopefully more on HF. I got into the hobby maybe in 2013, mostly emergency communications. And I finally developed through HCRA to get HF and hopefully CW. So I'm learning a lot and spending a lot of money, and I got to fix my antenna situation and hopefully reach out and do a better job. We'll start with Ken. Introduce yourself, your call sign. Oh, and I would, go ahead, please, sorry. And I would move the camera, but I don't want to hit the screen.
Steve, KC1, been in radio since I was 11. Ham radio.
KC1IKA, Kilo Charlie 1 India Kilo Alpha, radio out of Westfield, Aries and so on. Mike, KC1, IZC, out of Agmore, Aries and Skyward, NCS on 2.
You're ended on Q from Southwick, and I'm in Han, Ham radios, and I'm in 67.
Larry Goldman from Chicopee, KD1RD. I was into radio and I became a ham at 1984.
Louis Craig, Hampden, Connecticut, KC1F2B. Been a ham probably 5-7 years or more on it. My wife's fault too, the ham will for me.
Hi, George Collins, KC1B, Somers, Connecticut. I'm the treasurer, and if you want to make the reservations for the holiday party, I'll gladly take your money. John, K1ZY, Hampton. I'm the membership, so if you want to pay your dues, please, we're all set for you over here. See, I became a ham in 1962.
From Paul and everyone G from Leeds, your folks secretary, and I've been since 1984.
Please.
Roger, AA1LY from Chicopee, originally licensed 1994.
Good, thank you.
I'm Kurt, K1RT from Agawam, been licensed since 1981.
Jim, KK1W, Brimfield, originally licensed 1976.
Excellent.
Brandy, N1FJ, first license 70 years ago.
Lieutenant Drazik, KC1LWF, been licensed since 2019.
Michael, K1BKJ, Hadley, first license since 1977.
My name's Rockwell from Ashford, Connecticut, WW1X, and you'll hear all about my interests today.
And I'm Gary AA1UE from the farm community at Southampton and licensed in 1965.
And we have some capture audience up on the screen. We have Ray. Ray is what, I can't see your call sign. Sorry, Ray.
Oh, sorry. My call sign is AA1SE. I was licensed since 2004. I live in Lunenburg, Mass, and I am also your Western Mass section manager.
How about you, Ted?
Hi, Easy. My name is Ted. The calls are K3FEC. I've had those calls. Those were my uncle's calls, who was a silent key since 2018 and originally licensed as a novice in 1976.
Oh.
I'm in Hadley, Massachusetts, and I owe my dues.
I also have Ann and Keith. Ann are you still on, Ann?
Hi, yeah, we're still here. I'm Ann, N1YL, licensed in 2014 as KC1 CRS. Keith, KU1N, was licensed in 1966. We both enjoy CW most and do community service events. And we like this club a lot for the presentations and the people. N1YL.
Thank you, thank you. And I have, I'm assuming is William Cook. Are you still on? Okay, might be muted. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming on board. I'd like to remind everybody, August 31st, HCRA, the year ended, the membership ended, so it started back up on September 1st. The dues are due $15 per year. That's pretty reasonable. It helps keep this great club running. Please see George in the back. He's willing to take more money, or John, to renew your membership. Also, on that note, is at the end of this month, if you renew your membership, there's a raffle that's going to go out. So it's $150 for DX engineering. So that's a pretty good incentive to join. Okay, as you notice, Larry put this here. The year goes by quick. I'm a member of several clubs and it's hard to keep track. So for those that are on and those that are not here, please pass the word on. Membership as soon as possible. If you want to renew for more than 1 year, I believe there's an option also, and lifetime. So that's something for consideration. Raffle is end of the month, which is great. It helps, you know, the field day, the money, all that money goes to field day. It also goes to the Christmas party. It also pays for the web page as well as the Zoom. So it's all for a good cause, and George does a really good job in making sure where each penny goes to. So, you know, help HCRA by renewing your membership. Okay, reservations, as George has said, December 5th is the holiday party. So put that on your calendar, pass the word along. It's going to be at the Steaming Tender in Palmer. So that's where they held it last year. I did not get the opportunity, but I am looking forward to going this year, and I'll be seeing George really quick and making those reservations. So it starts at 6 o'clock. As always, there's going to be door prizes and, of course, all the fun with all the friends. The cost is $25 per person, and you're going to get 3 meal choices. There's Yankee pot roast, New England turkey dinner, and the baked haddock. So pretty good. So if you want to take orders tonight or get in touch with either Paul or George. The deadline for this paid reservation is going to be Monday, November 21st. So we need to get a good head count of how many people are going. Okay, Paul, NF1G is preparing another batch of QSL cards. So Oh, they already went out?
Yeah, next round will go around January.
Okay, so you hear that? January 15th is gonna be the next round. Thank you, Paul. Okay, it's time for the,
One more thing. Next month, next meeting is, we're gonna go and we're gonna try to have the auction again. So the auction basically is gonna be limited to ham radio equipment. There's like no computer stuff. Stuff that you want to get rid of, but still good. So if there's like mice droppings in it from the back of your garage, you could leave it at home. If you bring it and you don't sell it, you're going to need to take it home. We won't dispose of it. So just be aware, look around, because some of the stuff that you're not using can benefit somebody else.
The time is now 7:45. In 15 minutes, we will begin quiet time for our patients to rest.
All right, did you all hear that?
I just did my time. Sorry about that.
The roaring applause for Rocky, you'll have to listen.
Okay, one more reminder about the Christmas dinner. There's going to be a raffle there also. So those that are interested in a Geocron 4K plus a $300 Best Buy gift certificate. So you get the opportunity to buy the size of TV that you like. Yes, sir.
I just want trivia. You may have noticed cables and connections can be closed down in the next month. For anybody who goes down to news or residents.
For say again.
Cables and connections.
Cables and connections.
Yeah, down news and they sell
everything.
Okay, Newington cables are going to go down next month, right?
Wow.
What I saw.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just passing it on so the folks are here on the Zoom. Oh, yes, I did see some notices through the social media. So now's the time to get good prices. Going out of sale.
Easy.
Sorry to hear about that. Okay, and now for the main event of the night. I'd like to welcome Rockwell.
WW1X.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Do you need a?
Oh, I still gotta get, yeah, I do need to do that.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
There's a port right there.
Perfect. Everyone on Zoom. Let's see what is gonna work here. We can try this.
That's 75, that's it. Well, hear noise. I can't believe that it's set the heat that high.
Yeah,
Thank you.
or is that just normal? That's good. I ate my carrots. I can see. All right, I think we're good to go here.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
And is the screen shared for Zoom people? It's not. So let me do that. Cool. And how do I, where's the play button? This. I don't suppose this clicker is going to do anything. Oh, cool. All right. Hi. Good evening. Thanks for having me. My name is Rockwell WW1X. I'm a software developer. I'm a pilot, licensed since 2006. And today I'm going to talk about something I've been doing for almost 10 years now, is operating radios remotely. I'm going to start by sort of talking about some history. We can talk about some technical aspects, some operating characteristics, things to keep in mind if you get to operate remotely. And then, well, in the end, I'll talk a little bit about my service, Remote Ham Radio, and some of the things that we do to, make remote operation more accessible and easier than ever before. I lived in California for a couple years, in Central California in Santa Rosa, and I volunteered for the National Park Service at Point Reyes National Seashore, where they had this radio site called KPH. There's an actual photo I took. This is what it looks like today. It's an old Marconi RCA transmitter and receiver site. And the thing about this site is it has a totally separate transmit and receive station, totally separate antennas, separate radios, and they're separated by 17 miles along the coast. So up there in the north, you've got the receiver, and then down 17 miles, you've got a dedicated DSL phone line down to the transmitters. They're fields full of rhombics and all kinds of stuff right on the ocean. And this was used primarily for ship-to-shore and trans-Pacific communications back in the day. All CW, fax, weather, all that kind of stuff. This is a commercial site. Cool thing about this is that you get true QSK because you're transmitting and listening to your own real signal, because you're listening to yourself, just a ground wave right down the coast. So remoting is not new. They were doing this back in the 20s. And then as the CW and HF communication sort of was phased out, and that these offices were unstaffed, they actually ended up remote controlling. Yes, they used WCC on Cape Cod, where I grew up, to remotely control KPH across the whole continent. So you'd have the Atlantic in your right ear and the Pacific in your left ear, working split, that kind of thing. They did this up until 1997 when they finally closed down the commercial CW operation, if you can believe that they were doing it that long. So all that being said, remoting is not new in radio. They've been doing it forever. And so let's talk about a little bit of ham radio remote. In the amateur world, it's been around since roughly the 90s. Back then you would use phone patches or, DTMF controls to remotely control a radio, or use an RF link from one radio to another. I think a lot of the radios do it this day still, like the Kenwoods or Yaesus or something. You can like control your HF rig from your HT, that sort of thing. And of course, nowadays we use the internet, we use IP, we use Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and everything. A lot of people will remote their own stations. Does anyone here do any remoting, by the way? HF or VHF or otherwise? Nobody, okay. A little bit? All right. And there's also a handful of other services online where people make their stations available for public access. So obviously remote ham radio. There's another service called remote hams. And then there's also WebSDR, which gives you, I'm sure many of you have used, gives you access to remote receivers all over the globe. There's lots of reasons to operate remote. Obviously, if you're living in an HOA or have zoning restrictions and you can't put up an antenna, you've got whatever this is in this attic. I don't know, this might look familiar to someone. Obviously, you can get around those kind of restrictions. If your QTH has lots of noise, it's in an urban area with lots of inverter noise and QRN. Health is increasingly becoming a thing as the community ages, and we get lots of people who have to downsize their homes and dismantle their huge mega stations. They still want to operate. That is another valid use for remoting. Cost, obviously, you can access something that you wouldn't normally have access to build. You can experience different propagation. What's it like to watch a JA opening at 6 a.m. on the West Coast? You don't know until you've tried it, and let me tell you, it's awesome. You can also use it for station testing. You want to see how your signal sounds, or how you're getting out, how your antennas are receiving or transmitting. It's another great way. Yeah, the font's all changed here. It's fine. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the technical aspects of remote operating, how it kind of works, some of the solutions. This is one such example. This is an older photo, but this is a K30, which is a K3 with no RF in it. They don't even make these anymore. And then a paddle, and then a remote rigs device, which I'll show you later. So local operation, we're going to start with that. It's pretty obvious. You've got your transceiver and you've got your cables connected to your microphone, your key, maybe your computer for rig control. And then what remoting does is you have this magical cloud where everything is abstracted away through some other interface. Usually this is like a cloud on a diagram. One of the solutions is the remote rig. This is great for, this supports a lot of different transceivers, Elecraft in particular. It also does Kenwood and ICOM Yaesu. They'll support all kinds of stuff. They even have remote boxes for doing rotor control and amplifier control. This is what we used to do in remote ham radio. We don't use them anymore, but they're still really, really awesome. Purely hardware-based solution, so you don't have to muck around with software. And the CW on this remotely is very, very good. So in this case, you actually have two boxes. You have one that's like the head or like main, and one is the twin. And you set them up and configure them to talk to each other. You power on your local radio, and the remote radio just powers on, and everything starts flowing. You get the audio, you get the rig control and everything. Pretty cool. For those of you who are Flex users, Flex has what's called SmartLink. This is a purely software-based solution. So you literally just log in with a Flex account, and your radio, you can access it and connect to it with Smart SDR, SmartCat, Smart DAX, your Maestro, all that stuff, and they handle all the infrastructure for you. So you don't have to set up a VPN, you don't have to open ports, you don't have to do all that stuff. You just log in and you can access your radio remotely. In this case, you don't get the rest of your station control, but you get a PAN adapter, you get all your slices, you get everything there, as if it's sitting there on the network next to you. Remote Hams is a free software solution. It's run by Brandon, who's an Elecraft guy, so they have pretty good Elecraft support. They have their own software where you can remote your station, or you can make it publicly available to other people in a browser. It's pretty rudimentary, I think, compared to some of the other stuff that's out there now, but it's pretty popular, and it's a good way if you want to get on there for free and see what this is all about. And of course, remote ham radio. Just a little more complex because we handle a lot of pieces for you. So we have our own bespoke, computer that's running at the station, and it takes in data from the rotor. We use flex radios for everything, the amplifier, antenna switching, power control, all that stuff gets fed into a Raspberry Pi. That gets funneled across the internet to your browser if you want to just do phone or CW or even FT8. We also have a native app, which does the tunneling for Smart SDR, so you can get rig control, you can use a logger, you can use WSJT and all that stuff. Again, very similar to the way SmartLink works, but we kind of, I won't say reverse engineered it, but we did our own version of it. Oh, and this is that's what it looks like. I ran out of room on the other slide. So phone, I didn't put phone on here, but usually use the kind of voice over IP solution for doing phone modes. Back, traditionally it was done over like something like Skype or something like that, but a lot of, the remote rig will handle the audio transparently for you in the browser. We have technologies that are built in to do that. So phone is pretty much a solved problem. The latency is very good. The audio quality is very good. Obviously, like the bandwidth of a internet connection is way bigger than the bandwidth of a 3 kilohertz sideband audio connection. So and internet is very fast. So phone modes are pretty much a solved problem. CW, as I mentioned, the remote rig is very good if you want to, if you're, want a hand key. If you're just doing, contesting and logging with N1MM and you're doing macros and stuff, you can actually just do it entirely with rig control. Obviously, you don't need a special solution for that. That's honestly the best way we found to operate, is just by using macros. The problem is the latency and the jitter, and like there's lots of lost packets and stuff. CW is needs to be very timely, and any sort of interruption with your connection is going to make for some really crappy sounding CW. The WinKey also has a mode where you can put it. He has a little piece of software, K1EL, where you can run a program and then you can tunnel like the WinKey commands back and forth. So you've got a WinKey locally with your paddle, and you've got a WinKey at your remote site, and you open up some ports and connect them. You can do remotely send CW that way. The WinKey USBs are really good for that. Digital modes, obviously, like I mentioned, sound card based modes are fine, even with like a little bit of compression on a connection. All the digital modes are just handle that totally fine. Obviously, if you're doing RIDI, FSK is going to be audio FSK and that sort of thing. Although some solutions do support true FSK modes as well. And then, as I mentioned before, we usually use macros for CW. You can also, some radios even generate digital modes internally. So that I know the K3 and the Flex can do this. You can send them text data and they will output like RTTY and PSK pretty much. And finally, logging software. Not sure what to say about this other than if you can get rig data back and forth, you can use virtual COM ports to sort of tunnel your fake COM port from your computer so it looks like it's plugged into the back, and then it just goes off to the internet and comes out on the other end. When you're designing or when you're building a remote station, there's a lot more stuff that you need to think about. Many more concerns than if you're just completely operating locally. Obviously, the quality of the internet connection is the big one. Bandwidth, latency, and packet loss are all three major issues that you need to consider and be able to measure and troubleshoot when things are going wrong. Bandwidth obviously allows you to, you need more bandwidth so that your data can get through. Phone modes are typically, like I said, not very bandwidth hungry. But things like pan adapters and waterfalls, once you start turning that stuff on, it starts to bog down really quickly too. You get many megabits per second that are required. So internet connections that are slow or on the edge might not cut it. Latency obviously is important if you want to be timely. Most modern connections, latency is fine. The only exception is maybe satellite connections, not Starlink, but like old school, DirecTV style satellite internet. The latency is pretty bad there. So you really generally want to avoid that. And packet loss just comes with the territory, just the quality of the connection that you have. If there's bad copper running to your house or that sort of thing. In general, fiber is going to be the best thing. Cable internet will be the next best thing. Starlink, actually surprisingly good. We have one of our RHR stations on it. It's been solid. The latency is really good. The bandwidth is great. So for now, Starlink is awesome. We have a station up in Maine that literally doesn't even have cell service, and we get a better, remote connection there than anywhere. And LTE is also very viable. If you have a unreliable DSL connection or something, a LTE hotspot, yeah, you're going to pay for the bandwidth, but surprisingly good. And as I said here, DSL and old style satellite connections, not really advisable. They really don't cut it. Some other things you want to think about are power management. The old adage, if it's broken, turn it off and turn it on again. Well, guess what? You need to do that a lot. And so you need to be able to figure out how to remotely control not only 120, but 240 volt power supplies for amplifiers, as well as rotor control, amplifier control, any kind of switching you want to do. Maybe you want some remote cameras to keep an eye on your gear. Maybe you need to, either outside or inside, just keep an eye on things. And of course, you need to think about physical access. Is your station so far away that if something breaks, you need to physically, you need to access it or have someone access it for you, and that sort of thing. It's not as easy as just reaching around behind the back and jiggling the coax. Ask me how I know. Any questions so far? I kind of flew through that. Any questions about the technical aspects of remote operation? Yes. Yeah.
What are the possibilities for remote location?
What do you mean? Sorry, I don't.
Well, if you're operating from your home.
Yeah.
What remote are you?
Specifically for remote ham radio?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get to that. Okay. I'll get to that. For a remote ham radio, we have all over. We have East Coast, we have West Coast, we have Croatia, we have Haiti, we have Puerto Rico, the coast of Maine, as far east as you can get in the continental US. So those are all different stations we have, and I'll get some pictures of them later. Remote hams is a similar thing. I don't know if they're globally, but there's a lot all over the US. So.
Well, did I say I had a place in Vermont?
Yeah.
And I put a remote transmitter there with this stuff.
Oh, no, so we don't actually license out, like, we don't make a remote ham radio software available for general use. We just kind of use it for our own stations. So we don't like have a solution for you to remote your own station with our stuff. Unfortunately, right now, it's just a difficult problem and we just can't support it right now. Yeah,
So will you be remoting into your facilities?
that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, yeah. So I used to do commercial radio.
Okay.
We did a lot of microwave pops.
Yes.
And STL links from, studio in West Hartford to a transmitter A-line. But this here, where we're going to be using your facilities, where are your facilities?
I should have had a map. Well, hold on. Do we have a map? Let me think. I'll just bring up the website. Well, all right. Let's see. I'm gonna bring up your mail here. Sorry.
Those two antenna stacks behind you there, is that part of your?
Yes, that is. Yep, that was our first station, actually. Summit, New York, up in the Catskills.
Okay.
So on our website, there's a section called world-class stations. And we have two different pricing levels, but I'll show you one of them. For example, so for here we have shows you every detail for every station. So this is Athens, not Greece, but Maine.
So gotta share that, change it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Let me just do that actually. There we go. Athens, Maine, which is sort of central Maine. We've got Chaplin, which is technically Ashford. That's where I live. Cape Cod, very close to the original Marconi site there out in Wellfleet. This is Jefferson, Maine. This is this is actually right across the street from the Summit station. We actually shoot Wi-Fi between the two houses using wireless links. This one is in Poughkeepsie, New York. Poquayeg, New York.
The Jefferson, Maine site, how close is that to Catawba?
Not very close because we are right on the coast.
You're on the coast?
Northeastern, yeah.
Do you have anything inland?
No, because we want the salt water.
Okay.
Yeah. So Meeker, Colorado. This is in central Colorado. Tacoma, Washington. Here's Haiti. Oh, we got Haiti. This is the actual Haiti site overlooking the capital there. KP4, Puerto Rico. Croatia, this one is awesome. We're working on getting a QO100 satellite station running there. And then we have a bunch of other stations in Maine and on the West Coast as well. I won't go through them all, but you can check the website if you want more details.
Okay. Rocky, if I may ask, when you're looking at citing a station in a foreign country, what kind of challenges do you face?
That's a great question. So for a while, it was easy to, because remote operation was kind of flying under the radar and the sort of regulations hadn't really caught up to it yet. So there's nothing prohibiting it. Now it's getting a little trickier. Some countries are being made aware of it and if like explicitly prohibit remote operation. But for the most part, it's you can operate using countries that have SEPT agreement, right? So you can just use the prefix. So in Croatia, we use 9 alpha stroke. Well, Puerto Rico is the US, but in Haiti, we actually have a special call sign for that. So that's a bad example, but yeah, for the most part in Europe and stuff, it's not really a problem. Yeah, I think Germany is starting to get, like having problems with it is one example. So, but typically you don't have to be licensed. one of the countries we worked with, actually, yeah, it was Croatia, also started, like, really encouraged it, and they actually got call signs from them. So I think we're working on getting like 9 Alpha 1 USA or something like that. So yeah. I lost my place here.
What are your pricing plans?
So we have two plans. There's $99 a year, which is the Remote DX. That gets you access to just those stations I showed you. There's, you know, about 10 or 12 stations there. Those are primarily dipoles and amplifiers, 100 watts. I think there's a couple 500 watt stations there as well. And those sites range from anywhere 9 cents a minute for 100 watts on a dipole, all the way up to like 49 cents a minute, you know, and we build to the second. You can even operate some of the sites like low power. So if it's a 500 watt site, but you just want barefoot power, you can just turn the amplifier off and it gets charged at a lower rate. So those are the ranges. And then the premium sites, that's $9.99 a year. And those go up to 99 cents a minute. You're talking big stacks and stuff. So stuff like this and bigger than this. Full legal limit, coast of Maine, that kind of thing. You'll open the band and close the band at any time of the year. So we were talking a little bit about operating remotely in different countries. And one of the things that trips people up a lot is, what's my location? I'm sitting here, my butt's in the seat, but the transmitter might be hundreds of miles away. And how do I identify in the air? How do I spot? How do I log it? What's the right thing to do here? Because it starts to get complicated really quickly, because a lot of the systems that we're used to operating aren't set up to think this way. The big rule of thumb is that it's not where you're sitting. You always have to pretend that you're sitting where the transmitter is. You're sitting at the radio. So from a legal standpoint, you can operate anywhere within, you know, the continental US as if you were just traveling to that station and sitting in front of it. Use your own call sign. You can even use like a suffix if you want, although it's not required. So I can, you know, be in New York one second, in California the next, and I'm still WW1X. As we mentioned before, reciprocal licenses are typically permitted for SEP countries, IT9, for example, in Sicily, and then Sicilian person could operate as W2 stroke IT9 XYZ. We pretty much covered this, so moving on. A good rule of thumb, though, is just because you're operating legally doesn't mean that it still can't be confusing. So you want to make sure that you're always identifying the location of the transmitter on the air, especially when it comes to contests and that sort of thing. Because you know, your country, your state, your county, your grid square, all that stuff matters for people who are collecting awards and want to work all states or work all countries or grid squares or whatever. So you always have to be careful to identify using the location of the remote transmitter. You have to know that at all times. You don't want to falsely identify as, you know, as a Holyoke, Mass when I'm not there. And of course, the problem with this is that things like DX clusters and mapping, like or logging programs, someone's gonna hear your call sign and type in WW1X, and they're gonna see a map or a location. It's gonna autofill your home location, your mailing address, your FCC address, whatever it gets off QRZ or the FCC database or whatever. And that might not be right. So it can get really confusing. People, I'll say I'm in, New York, and they're like, it says you're in Connecticut. I'm like, no, I'm not really. You have to log it as New York. Trust me. So that's something you really, really have to be careful about. There are a couple of rules surrounding awards that are important to call out. DXCC is a big one, and this has been a contentious one in recent years. But the rule right now, as it stands, is that all your contacts for DXCC, DXC Century Club, you work 100 countries, they all have to be made from within the same entity, which in this case is the contiguous lower 48 for us. So again, using the East Coast, West Coast example, contacts, no matter where you make them in the United States, are all valid for the same DXCC award. So that's really important. It's some people like it, some people don't. That's the way it is. Those are the rules. The one sidebar there is a transmitter receiver must be co-located. So you can't use a remote receiver like a web SDR to complete a contact. I can't be sitting here in Holyoke listening to, trying to work Hawaii, listening in, West Coast, a web SDR. That's not allowed. Your receiver has to be, within a 500 meters of your transmitter.
500 meters?
Yes, 500 meters. Yeah. Worked all states and the VU, VHF, UHF Century Club are a little different. For worked all states, all your contacts have to be made within a 50-mile radius. For VUCC, it's a 200-kilometer radius. Don't ask me why they use metric. That's the rule. So for these kind of awards, if you're working for them, you have to either, pick a remote station that you like and stick with it, or heck, get worked all states from 7 different stations if you want, But that's those are the rules there. So slightly different. And those are obviously because the United States is so small, they're there to prevent, propagation advantages and that sort of thing. As far as contesting goes, it just depends on the contest. Things are changing all the time, year to year, generally in favor of, being more permissive for remote operations. In 2021, CQ Worldwide added this multi-distributed category as a response to, COVID. People couldn't get together. They didn't want people getting together in big multi contest stations like K3LR and W3LPL and all those things because, who wants a ham radio super spreader event? Like we got Dayton, that's enough. That's fine. So they introduced this multi-distributed category, which allows you to work under one call sign for multiple stations. But you could still only transmit, there still have to be band lockouts. So you can't transmit on the same band multiple times, at the same time. So for remote ham radio, we implemented a distributed web-based lockout. So, if someone else was running and someone wanted to jump in, we had to use chat to communicate and collaborate and make sure that we weren't transmitting. But it would also kick you off if it detected 2 people were transmitting on the same band at the same time, but physically separate from each other. WW1X holds a US record for that. Obviously, they've only had it 2 years, but that's still cool. I got a plaque. As far as just regular contest operating goes, though, most of the major contests allow remote operation as long, again, as the receiver and transmitter co-located. This is just a regular, single station, multi-single kind of, or single, op or multi-single kind of operation. We already talked about a lot about RHR, so I'm just going to kind of breeze through this because, but maybe people are interested. We started back in 2013. Lee, WW2DX, and Ray, W2RE, were building towers. They had this great summit location, which you saw earlier, and they only used it for contesting. It sat there 50 weeks out of the year, just doing nothing. And so some of the earlier technologies, the remote rigs became available. They did some early experiments. I joined them shortly thereafter this, and we started the business with just 3 stations on the air and a handful of customers, and it just grew from there. Obviously, some of the challenges with building the business have been public perception about remote operation. It's been a lot better in recent years. People have just sort of accepted it as this is a good thing. This is the way to go. It's a good tool to solve a lot of problems. Station construction and maintenance is a constant challenge. Things break a lot frequently. Amplifiers are a particular pain in our butt. And so it's just a constant struggle to keep the sites up. Scaling the infrastructure to support more users as we grow in terms of software. That's what I do. Technical support is also ongoing. People have trouble and working the newfangled technology. So we got to write documentation and support them and help them get everything working. Although really, I don't think it's that hard. And of course, improving things all the time to give the best possible operating experience. Like recently, we just added FT8. Like you don't need to do WSJT. You don't have to set up sound cards. You don't have to do all that crap. Just push the FT8 button, you do it in the browser, make contacts, start running. It's awesome. So today we've got 40 stations I don't know if this 19 number is right, but majority of them have amplifiers. That was an old number. As you've seen, we've got stacks, Yagis, 4 squares, dipoles, dedicated stations for low and high band. So if you have one location, we'll split it out into like, high band, work bands, low band, so that multiple people can, operate from the same station at the same time without, any problems there. WebDX is our technology that we call for operating everything in the browser. You don't have to install any software. You just log in and you get everything pretty much. We've transitioned to Flex radios in recent years. We used to use Elecraft. Now we partner with Flex, and so that includes support for Smart SDR and SmartCat and all that other stuff that that they've built. There's a cluster, we got Logbook of the World, upload and download, Club Log Sync to track your DXCC. IOSF actually we don't need anymore because finally Safari works, so we don't even have an IOSF anymore. One of the bigger recent developments too is we have this youth program. We've got 65 members. I think the cutoff age is 21, and they have 14 stations in a dedicated youth network. These are stations that are maintained by the kids themselves, by some OMs who have donated their stations, by a college or two, and these kids have their own dedicated stations to operate for free. They get on, they do contests, they do all kinds of fun stuff. So a really great way to encourage young folks to get into the hobby and get them on the air, because that's what we're all about. This is an example of one of our earlier big stations. This is Eastport, Maine, right up by Lubeck. Here's an aerial shot from a drone. So we've got a 6-meter rotating super stack, we call it, 7/7/7/7. This sling is a flamethrower. You can work Aurora, you can work 6 meters across the pond, all over the US. It's awesome. Some guys will just log onto this and just sit and just wait for the opening. It's great. You can even work the moon off this. It's right on the horizon. Yeah, pretty nuts. This is our rotating tri-band stack. So we got 10, 15, and 20. These are GXP antennas that we love. They're mechanically just amazing, easy to build, and relatively good. We get them shipped from Poland. Can't recommend these antennas enough. There's another rotating Roan 45 tower. We use these, I forget the call sign, but the little rotating motors at the base, prop pitch motors. And it's got a 3-element 40 at the top. This is our workstation. This is kind of covers everything else. So you get 12, 17, and 30. You get an 80-meter quarter wave vertical and then a 160 inverted L. I think this is even out of date now, but anyway, this is pretty close to what's there now. So that's just an example of one of our premium sites. There's a dozen more like it. So as was mentioned before, remote ham radio it's a service. Like, we maintain the stations. Some of them we own. Some of them are, we have partnerships with the original station owners, and but we maintain everything, so you don't have to. So that's all I got. And I'd be happy to take any more of your questions.
Rocky, if I mean, what's the next? I'll call it the next frontier. You mentioned that the Croatia station might be, working the satellites. You mentioned moon bounce.
Yeah.
Where's the future? In terms of what do you see if you could design this ideal network for hams?
Yeah, we've always focused on HF, and that's great, but there's so many other modes of operation, right? And so we'd love to branch out into more of that. We've looked into doing more satellite stuff here. The moon bound stuff would be cool to get into. Just something like really that the really value this brings is this being able to operate these really esoteric things that you wouldn't normally have access to. I can't work 6-meter Aurora from my dipole, but let me tell you, it's freaking cool when you can get on and those openings and like hear it for yourself. So anything like that, we've been trying to make digital modes better. We'd like to, I don't know, any crazy thing that you can think of, we'd like to try it.
So another question, other than maintaining all of this stuff and the fact that things break, what's the second biggest challenge that you have or that, you know, remote ham radio has to tackle your day-to-day?
It's support. It's dealing with emails and support tickets, honestly. I know it's not a very exciting answer, but it's a lot of time and a lot of effort. Yeah, that's the software mostly just runs, like, you know what I mean? That's actually like the least problematic part of it. So we designed it to scale, and we're not at a point where we're having problems with that sort of thing. So yeah, it's support, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, and just one more thing, do you have like a goal to have so many active users on at any given time, and so many active subscribers, that so that you're more viable or can do more?
Like from a business perspective?
Yeah, just say,
Yeah.
you want to, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000, 100, whatever.
Right, that's a great question. The beauty of this is it does scale to whatever we want it to, in terms of like, so it's an important thing to bring up is these stations are, what's the word? First come, first serve, right? You connect, you get the station, your butt's in the chair, and no one else can kick you off or boot you. That's the beauty of it. There's no queues, there's no you know, requesting to boot you off the station or anything. And so utilization is a real problem, you know, especially during a de-expedition or a contest weekend, or just some kind of rare opening. You know, sunspot cycle is on the way up, so it's only going to become more of a problem. And so we keep a very close eye on the overall utilization. And I can tell you that, like, you know, you saw the list of, you know, we've got 40 stations, average utilization 10%, right? It's averaged over 24/7, right? Over a year, a month, or whatever. It's about 10%. And we found that's like a pretty good number, where it, like, you know, it takes care of the peaks. During the peak loads, there's a lot of stations in use, but you get the times where it's just sitting there doing nothing. So that's kind of been our goal, is kind of like grow the stations so that, you know, if utilization goes up and people start complaining that they can't get on the air, then, you know, we'll expand it. So far it's been pretty stable though. Yeah.
So to subscribe, you have to set up for an account registration. How's that process and how long?
Yeah, so we have, we don't do trials anymore because it was just problematic with lots of scammers and stuff. So we have there's actually a monthly plan that is, I think, $19 a month. And that way you can like try it for 30 days, you know? And then if you don't, you just cancel, that's it. You just don't renew, and then it's over. And then, but yeah, otherwise you just have a card on file, and we just automatically, you know, you can look at your usage at any time. We send you automated emails like, hey, here's your bills coming up, and then we just charge you automatically. So, yeah.
Oh, may I ask, is there a license class? You have to be licensed for the particular one that you're using. I'm just thinking of, you know, some newer hams or whatever, different licenses.
Right. Yeah. So for licensing, it's pretty much general or above, again, because we have almost entirely HF stations. There's not a lot of, I mean, we certainly would allow a tech to join. We do require you send us a copy of your license, official copy, so we have it on file, just so, you know, we make sure you are who you say you are. But yeah, it's generally for generals or above. Yeah. Great question too. Cool.
Great.
Rockwell?
Yeah, Jim.
If you have an account, I didn't realize it was first come, first served. So it's a busy contest weekend or Bouvet's on the air or whatever. How often, how do you know when a station is not and it's available? I mean, you have to keep, is it like getting a COVID shot? You just need to try again.
Just keep refresh. No, I mean, it's such rarely a problem that, like, I know it seems like it would be a problem, but it's really, oh, did this die? How long ago did that die? Oh, okay, good. All right, good. I figured you would have said something. Yeah, it's generally you just have to watch it. It's red when it's in use, and as soon as it goes green, you know, someone can grab it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have like a dashboard so you can see like what stations are operating at any given time?
Yeah, exactly. Let me just I don't want to do a full demo here, but I can just give a quick go around here.
You're gonna find they're all busy right now.
That'd be great. It's a great problem to have. And before I do this, I want to, yeah, sure, we'll do that. So this is as easy as the web. Oh, you can't see this. No, don't.
Everybody watch this password now.
Yeah. So like I literally just logged in. I gave it Mac access to the microphone. Here's the speakers. Sound works. There's my mic. Hello, test 1, 2. So I got mic levels and we're in. Before I do this, I gotta turn on one setting here. Where is it? Demo mode. This just hides the, normally as an admin, I can see all the customer names and stuff. So I don't want you guys to, you guys don't need to see that. Yeah, so this is what the console looks like. Here's our list of stations at the top. We've got our premium DX stations at the top here, and then remote DX down here. You can recognize some of those ones that we listed. Here are some of our DX. These ones are down right now, Haiti and KP4, probably because of the hurricane, if I were to guess. We have 3 Croatia stations that are split out into different bands. You can see, so these have the different bands broken out. I don't know if you can read that, but this is 6 through 40, here's 30, and then here's like 17, 80, and 160. So if those are broken out, you can see which bands they are, that sort of thing. We've got the map view here, which shows the sort of antenna pattern for where the road is facing. Got your DX cluster showing all your spots. They're color coded based off of the band. All your station info at the top, showing like any notices. So this one is 6 meters, 100 watts. Something's busted with the amp there. Here's your grid square, your altitude, ITU and CQ zones. So if you're exchanging contact information, that's all available. We even have a little station description down here at the bottom where you can get more. Here's some pictures and stuff where you can see exactly what's on each band here. Here's your DX cluster. It's pretty rudimentary, but gets the job done. Pretty basic logbook in here. Plug this really ugly DX calendar thing in here because I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, so we just connect up. Let's go to station here.
And that's what every user sees.
Yeah, this is just a normal view of the application here. So I just go and connect up. There it is. I'm in. 15. It's probably not going to do anything. Of course, FT8 is always going, but I don't know, you can probably go down to 20. You got the band presets at the top here, so you can go to the different sub bands. Different spots showing up on the waterfalls. Turn those off because you kind of get in the way. Yeah, here you go. You can just kind of zoom around. You can use a little knob here and twiddle around. You can do direct frequency entry. I'm in CW. This guy. Now this is a flex, so we can have multiple slices, sort of like transmitters and our different subbands and stuff. So in this case, we've got the A and the B slice. If you want to work split or whatever, we're going to turn that off. As loud as it gets, sorry. South America. Did anyone get the call?
Have a good night and a great weekend. Always good to talk to you. Lima United 3, Mike, Charlie, Juliet, 5805, Victoria.
So I put in this call sign here. Does the QRZ look up? QRZ look up? can just do. Yeah, let's do South America. And of course, this has to go over the pole now because the rotor stops to the south. Let me stop that. Oh, you can't see the S rating. Let's see here. You can see, so here's our amplifier. Won't overdrive. This guy going. Try to find something else here.
Sierra 7 X-ray, Whiskey Sugar 7 X-ray, over.
So yeah, you can do all the normal stuff. You got your filters, volume, notch filters, noise blanker, all that good stuff. I don't want to call CQ. I just want to see if we can find someone easy to work. Hola. Switching over to the Flex has been awesome. I mean, it's just such a better fit for when you have a huge screen to be able to see the waterfall and everything. It's just such a big win over just spinning the knob and trying to find signals when you can just friggin' see it and click it. So cool. Where's all the DX?
20 meters, calling CQ, CQ. Hello CQ, hello CQ, hello CQ. 20, CQ 20, CQ 20 meters. Kilo Alpha 8, Ocean Fox Charlie. Kilo Alpha 8, Ocean Fox Charlie, calling CQ 20 and listening.
Here, I'll blow them out of the water. Ready? Whiskey 1X, right?
Whiskey 1 X-ray, go ahead.
Roger, this is Whiskey 1X, right? Name here is Rock. I'm here giving a presentation at the Hampden County Radio Association, and just wanted to give a quick demo here. So just wanted to pop in and say hi. Heard you call in CQ, and yeah, name here is Rock. Romeo Oscar Charlie Kilo. Over.
Okay, Rock. What's your QTH?
We're located in Holyoke, Massachusetts, but the transmitter is in Eastport, Maine, up by Lubeck. Over.
Can I my beam around? Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. We're in Grid Square is standby. Our grid is FN 65, Fox November 65. Not a very interesting contact, but you can't see an operation here. Correct. Yep, you got it.
Whiskey 1
Jesus
X-ray,
Christ.
Kilo Alpha 8, Ocean Fox Charlie.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard you. You're 15 over S9 here.
Okay, likewise here. His name is Ken. Kilo Echo November. QTH is Boyne City, Michigan. Oscar Yankee November Michigan. We're in the lower peninsula of Michigan in the northwest quadrant near Lake Charlevoix.
QSL, Roger, Roger, the LP. Very good. You're coming in very good. Your audio sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to keep it short here because we're running low on time, but it was good to talk to you. And 7-3, have a good night. And good luck with DX.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, thanks for taking the call and have a good time there. Thanks for the report. 73, Kilo Alpha 8, Ocean Fox Charlie.
7-3 from Whiskey 1X, right? Yeah, it's on the line. So there you go.
Kilo Alpha 8, Ocean Fox.
So yeah. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Greatly appreciate that presentation.
Great. Thank you. Cool. How was that for time? I feel like it went pretty long. Was it good? All right.
You got all your keys and everything?
Just this.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to log out. Let me do that real quick.
Yeah, sure. You can leave it on there. I'll probably.
You know, that's okay.
It is excellent. I can get broke real quick with this.
Oh, don't look at that. Don't look at these numbers.
I know nothing. Is there any more meeting announcements anybody would like to pass on?
As I have a question,
I heard you.
as for the holiday party, if we're not coming to the meetings, we should mail a check to John or George. How much is it for the holiday meal?
Oh, man, I'm having a hard time understanding, but I heard that you need, let me see if I can take some of this. Hey, John, George. Hey, John, George, I have a question. Someone asked if they can't come see you in person, can they mail it, a check to you for reservations? Yeah. Okay, yes, that can be sent to the PO box.
As how much is the meal?
The meal's gonna be $25 per person.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more club announcements? Okay, moving right along. Anybody from Franklin County here? Pass on any information? Anybody from Franklin County? No. So everybody knows that there's gonna be a Near Fest next weekend, the 14th and 15th. And the Fox boxes. I believe mid-October they'll be hitting again. So keep an eye on the group in the email listing and Facebook. Okay, so a quick reminder about the dues and the holidays. The end date for reservations, November 21st. And read up on the Zero Beat. Ken did a wonderful job. It's got a lot of good information in there. A lot of interesting information. Myself and the rest of the club and the board members want to wish everybody a safe ride home, a great weekend, and many QSOs. I'll see you next month. Pass the word out, please. Thank you, everybody.
As one more question.
One more question. Go ahead, please.
Where is the holiday party?
The holiday party is going to be at the Steamer on Depot Road in Palmer. Steaming tender.
And do you know the dates?
The date is December, I want to make sure I got you the right date. December 5th, and it starts at 6 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
Is this Ted?
This is Tedez.
All right, Ted. Just reach out. It should be we'll put it up on Facebook.
Thank you very much.
Thank you much. I'm trying to stop the sharing and get on the regular page so I can see everybody. But at this moment, I'm gonna say good night to everybody. Be safe, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye now.